Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stocks All Day with Dr. O'Day. Today I'm going to talk about a few recent trades that I've made, as well as a few trades that I've kind of taken out of some hype because we know right now the stock market is experiencing some decent downs in the last week or so, and the stock market is also experiencing some craziness with GameStop, with Dogecoin, with AMC, with all kinds of things. One thing is that all of this is super volatile right now, and right now this account is meant to be an account with a few crazy trades in it. So I'm having a little fun here in January, and with that, make sure to hit this like and subscribe. Please let me know if there's any content that you'd like to see coming up. So here are the trades that I've been making. So as of right now, we're seeing quite a bit more green early on. I'm in a little bit of a lull right now on some big gains. However, we did have a couple decent sized wins here with CGen. I thought that that was actually going to be an even bigger win than it was. I ended up having to get out of CGen. Unfortunately, I was seeing that it was probably going to be trending downward, and luckily I did get out of that because it has kind of tanked in the last little bit along with a lot of the rest of the stock market. Like I said, it's been a little bit of a tough trading period of late, so I lost just a hair here on Procter and Gamble. I was pretty positive about that as well. I'm a little disappointed, but what I think is probably that Procter and Gamble is going to right itself here in the next week, and I'll probably go ahead and put some money into that again. Verizon didn't do all that well for me. I ended up pulling out of that. I have adopted an interesting kind of perspective around Ethereum. So what I've noticed, and I was just kind of playing with a very small amount here. You can see that my investment was 66, 90, and then there was another buy here for 60. And you're seeing here that I made 7.5%, 5.5% on both of those. And let me tell you about this new strategy that I'm doing. So if we kind of look at the pattern of Ethereum over time, what's happening is this crazy stock. What's happening is it fluctuates well over $100 a day recently. And so I started thinking to myself, okay, this thing is projected to potentially be at 10 grand over the next couple years and maybe even the next year. And a lot of people are saying that this is going to start rivaling Bitcoin, all of these things. And I haven't seen hardly anyone saying Ethereum's going to go down in the short term. And so, but it does have a lot of pullbacks. It has a fantastic amount of fluctuation. And so my plan is to kind of bank on the fact that at least, and in my opinion, they're right, that I think Ethereum is going to continue to go up at least for the next little bit. And so what I'm going to do in that time is I kind of tested it I just tested the water just to see what it was like doing this and of course 2 times that's nothing. Okay, so Connor, you benefited after 2 trades. Yeah, that's fine. But I like the way that this trade happened. And so what I've started doing is just every morning when I wake up right now, what I've started doing is whatever the price of Ethereum is. So let's say that Ethereum, when I wake up, is trading at 1410. What I do is I set a limit buy. So I set a limit buy at 1310. So I subtract $100 from whatever that value is. And I set a limit buy and I put 250 bucks on that limit buy. Oh, I said 50 there, so I put 250 bucks on that. And I'm just going to start doing that every single morning. So if the next morning, so the next day, let's say it's at 1328. I can't type right now, 1328. I'm going to put a limit buy for 1228, and I'm going to put 250 bucks on that. As soon as that order fills, so that's happened a couple times now that it actually worked. And so as soon as this order fills, so let's say that bam, let's turn this green, that order filled. Immediately what I do is I set a sell at this value, this 1410. So just as soon as it buys, I immediately set a limit sell. So then I'm going to transition, limit sell. So what happens here is, without even trying, the stock drops 100 bucks, and actually I've oftentimes see it drop $200 over the course of a couple days before coming back. And that thing is swinging like a pendulum right now between 1400 and about 1200. And we're just seeing this pendulum swing. And so every single morning when I wake up, I'm going to throw 250 bucks into a limit buy $100 below whatever it's currently trading at. And then when it buys, I'm going to sell it for $100 more than I paid for it. And that's going to continue. I'm going to see what happens there. And I'm expecting that I'm going to make a decent chunk of money doing that. And I'm going to stop, like, so if I get 1,000 bucks into it on those $250 things, that would mean that the price has basically dropped, um, a fairly substantial amount. I'm going to go ahead and pause there and let all of them sell before I invest more than $1,000 into that. So that's a new strategy, and maybe try that out for yourself. Who knows? I also got into PayX on the 28th, and so the reason I got into that, if you look back at the 28th, I can go ahead and pull that up. Let's just go ahead and pull that up. I'm looking at my YouTube channel right now, but let's go to Stock Watch Trading View here. We'll go ahead and open PayX. So what led me to this one, so this is paychecks. What led me to this one is it was looking like the MACD was going to cross over below zero here, and that's one of my big indicators is when the price of the stock is above the 200-day exponential moving average, meaning that it's trending upward. If we have a MACD crossover below zero, with the blue line going upward, then that typically is going to signal a buy for me. I was hoping that we wouldn't find some resistance here at that line. It looks like we found a little bit of resistance. I'm not too concerned with this particular one yet. I set my stop loss pretty tight here right below this recent pullback. And so if I lose a little bit, right now I potentially would lose 5% on that trade, but I have a potential gain of 7%. So we'll see how that happens. And I think that that's going to be fairly affected by, if the stock market continues to drop, then I think that I'll probably stop out. But if the overall stock market kind of rights itself in the next day or two, I think that I'll probably end up winning on that one. I also bought into Comcast, so let me go ahead and show you that one as well. So we saw kind of the same thing. We're above the 200-day exponential moving average. We had a MACD crossover. Again, all of the stocks were, and I was actually hoping that we would break past this resistance, because we've tested this resistance now 3 or 4 times in the last little bit. And so I was actually expecting that, because we were having that MACD crossover there, that we might actually break through that. Does look like we leveled off just a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised. We can kind of almost see a reverse hammer kind of forming there. So potential loss for me, I set my stop loss, like I said, right below that recent pullback. I'm going to potentially lose close to 5% or gain about 7% on that trade, depending. And if we break through this level of resistance, it's actually highly likely that it could continue to go up. So we're going to kind of watch that as things start to happen there. I also bought more into Twitter. So what we're seeing is Twitter has kind of followed a fairly interesting and consistent pattern over time. A lot of people, when Trump got booted from Twitter, we saw this pullback here, but and I saw people on Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff, all of the people who were all pro-Trump and stuff like that, saying, ah, ha ha ha, shows you right, Twitter, for banning Trump. And that happened literally right here. But if we look back, the exact same thing happened right here as well. This is fully expected. Like, everything according to these fundamentals, it was completely expected that that was going to happen, that that was going to go down. But of course, if you support Trump, then you see this 9% drop off in a day, and you're all gung ho, showed you liberals. But I mean, we would have fully expected this. And then like I bought in right here with a little bit of an investment. So I had initially bought in 6 shares right around here, and then we actually saw the MACD crossover happen. So I ended up buying additional shares at about $50 as well. So I'm expecting probably that in the next couple days we almost see an inverse hammer pattern there. It looked like the bulls tried to come in the other day when the stock market wasn't doing very well, but we see that they didn't make much headway against that pretty strong green candle there. So what this is indicating to me is we're probably going to break through that resistance. I'm hoping that we're going to get up to about in here. That would be a 19% gain for me, or I could stop out at about a 12% loss. So that's where I'm at right now. Those are my most recent trades. We've got Twitter, Comcast, and Paychex. The other thing that I said I was coming in is I'm Dodge to the moon right now. I haven't thrown very much money in there, but Dogecoin for me, I'm gonna, I mean, with what's happened with AMC, with what we've seen with GameStop, I said, you know what, screw it. I'll go ahead and put 20 bucks in here, 20 bucks in there, 30 bucks in there, and 60 bucks in there. So who knows? If I just wanted to take the chance there and see, 2-4, I'm going to check back in and we'll see, because supposedly that's the day that everybody's going to take Dodge to the moon. So I want to be there if it happens. So we'll see. An unfortunate thing for me actually was I almost a couple weeks ago I was texting my buddy Elliot about this, and I almost bought into AMC when it was around like 250, $2.50, and there was an option to a call option on AMC, so that I almost bought the call option to buy 100 shares in the next 6 months. It would have cost me about $1 for that call option. Maybe it was 20 bucks, I don't know. But I would have made $1,700 if I would have gone ahead and done that. So it was unfortunate that I chose not to do that, but you can't win them all. And right now the stock market is an absolutely crazy time. But you know what? I'm all Dodge to the moon right now. I'm gonna see what happens. So I've got about 100 bucks in there. I've got like what 4,000 shares of that stock. So we'll see what happens. But I appreciate you all checking back into Stocks All Day with Dr. O'Day. Please let me know if there's any content that you'd like to see coming up, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe as always. Have a great rest of your day.